Ladies, I want you to hear me tonight. I want you to understand something that will change the very atmosphere around your life. There are signs, unmistakable signs, that show a woman is favored by God. And when God's favor rests upon you, doors that no man can open will swing wide. Opportunities that seem impossible will find their way to you. Let me share with you 7 signs that reveal you are a woman favored by God. Number 1, you walk in peace, even in the storms. The world may rage, circumstances may shake, yet there is a quiet assurance in your heart that God is in control. People may doubt, situations may seem hopeless, but you know your steps are ordered by Him. That calmness, that unshakable peace is a sign of divine favor. Number 2, you are given opportunities to bless others without seeking recognition. Favor does not boast. Favor opens doors for others through your life. Your acts of kindness and love become channels of God's blessings. And you begin to see miracles happen simply because you obeyed the prompting of His Spirit. Number 3, doors that should be closed somehow open. In your career, in your relationships, in your spiritual life, things happen that cannot be explained by chance alone. When God favors a woman, His hand moves to make the impossible possible. Number 4, people are drawn to you. There is a magnetism that is spiritual, not worldly. You may not even try, yet hearts are touched in your presence, and your words carry life. God's favor flows through you, drawing others closer to Him. Number 5, you experience supernatural protection. Danger may lurk, but somehow you are preserved. Situations that could bring harm are turned aside. The favor of God is a shield around you, keeping you safe as you walk in His plan. Number 6, you are guided by wisdom beyond your years. Decisions that perplex others are clear to you. You discern the right paths, the right words, the right steps, and people are amazed at the clarity and understanding that comes from you. This is favor, ladies, favor that directs and protects. Number 7, your life produces fruit, even in the hardest soil. Where others might fail, you thrive. Your testimony is not just your own, it becomes a light for others. People see that God is at work in your life, and His goodness flows through every aspect of you. Let me tell you, favor from God is not something you earn. It is something that rests upon those who trust Him, who obey Him, and who let Him move through them. If these signs are in your life, rejoice. You are walking in a divine favor that will never fail. There is a peace that surpasses all understanding, and it is a mark of God's favor on a woman's life. You see, life will always bring storms. Circumstances will rise up against you. People may misunderstand you, betray you, or speak harshly. And yet there is a quiet assurance that rests in your soul that cannot be shaken. When a woman is favored by God, she does not depend on the approval of men or the comfort of circumstances. She depends on the one who holds the universe in His hands. That peace is not something that comes from avoiding trouble or living in ignorance. No, it is something supernatural. It is a calmness that rises from a heart that has been surrendered fully to Him. A heart that has learned to trust that He is working all things together for good, even when the evidence of your eyes and the noise of the world scream otherwise. Think about it. How many women live under stress, worry, and anxiety because they are trying to control things beyond their power? But the woman favored by God has discovered a secret. She can cast her cares upon Him, and He truly cares for her. There is a difference between mere optimism and this peace. Optimism fades when challenges persist, but the peace of God endures through trials. When trouble comes, she does not panic. She does not fret over the unknown. She moves forward in faith because she knows that her steps are ordered by a God who never sleeps and never slumbers over her life. even in the midst of heartbreak, even when doors are slammed in her face, even when plans fail. There is a stillness in her spirit that speaks volumes. People notice it. They may not understand it. They may even envy it, but it is unmistakable. It is the quiet confidence of one who knows that no weapon formed against her will prosper and that her life is under divine protection. That peace allows her to respond with grace instead of anger, with patience instead of frustration, and with hope instead of despair. It frees her from bitterness, from resentment, and from the weariness that comes from trying to fight battles alone. When God's favor rests upon her, she does not have to strive for every blessing or manipulate every outcome. She learns to rest in His timing, to wait with expectancy, to trust the unseen. Even when the night seems darkest, she has the assurance that the dawn is coming, because her life is in the hands of a God who is faithful to His promises. She is not tossed to and fro by every circumstance, not swayed by every opinion, not broken by every disappointment. Her heart remains steady because it is anchored in something far greater than herself. That is the peace of God, the unshakable calm that marks a woman walking in divine favor. And it is a power that will sustain her through every season, through every trial, and through every moment of uncertainty that life may bring. A woman favored by God carries a blessing in her very life that flows to others without her having to force it. She becomes a vessel through which God pours out His goodness, not for her own glory, but to touch the lives of those around her. It is not something she seeks or demands. It is something that happens naturally because the favor of God is upon her. She may give a word of encouragement to a friend, a gesture of kindness to a stranger, or a moment of patience to someone struggling. And suddenly lives are changed, burdens are lifted, and hope is restored. There is a divine ripple that begins with her obedience, her willingness to let God move through her, and it spreads farther than she can ever imagine. This blessing is not measured by wealth or position. It is not measured by fame or recognition. Many times, the woman favored by God goes about her life quietly, serving, loving, and giving without expecting anything in return. She does not boast of her acts of kindness. She does not seek applause. The favor of God in her life makes her generous in spirit, gracious in attitude, and humble in heart. People notice the difference in her because her actions have a supernatural weight. There is an anointing on her words, a power in her prayers, and a light in her demeanor that draws others closer to God. Consider how powerful it is when a woman's life becomes a channel of blessing. She may visit the sick and healing takes place. She may offer counsel and clarity comes to confused hearts. She may forgive when it is hardest to forgive and chains of bitterness are broken. It is not her strength that accomplishes this. It is the favor of God flowing through her. Every act, every word, every touch becomes an instrument in the hands of the Almighty. She does not need to manipulate situations or impress anyone because favor carries with it divine influence that moves hearts and circumstances in ways that mere human effort never could. A favored woman does not give reluctantly or with resentment. She gives because she understands that the blessing in her life is a gift, a responsibility, and a privilege. Even the smallest act of kindness becomes a seed that God multiplies. She sees opportunities to serve where others pass by, to speak life where others speak criticism, and to bring hope where others see despair. Her life becomes a testimony that God's favor is not about her comfort alone. It is about the impact she can have on the world around her. People feel the difference when they encounter her, and even without realizing it, they are drawn into the light that surrounds her. Because favor cannot be hidden, It always produces fruit, always blesses, and always testifies to the goodness of God. There is a supernatural favor that opens doors in a woman's life, doors that seem impossible to open by human means. When God favors a woman, opportunities appear in ways that cannot be explained by coincidence, timing, or personal effort alone. She may find herself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, receiving the right word, and stepping into circumstances that seem orchestrated by divine hands. These doors are not earned by striving, not won by force, and not achieved by manipulation. They open because God's favor is at work, and He delights in blessing the life of the woman who trusts Him. Consider the doors that remain closed to others, positions in career, relationships, ministries, or even personal breakthroughs, and how they suddenly swing open for her. She may face rejection, obstacles, or delays, yet when she steps forward in faith, God's hand moves to remove barriers. What others see as impossibilities, she experiences as moments of divine provision. These openings are often unexpected and unexplainable. A meeting, a phone call, a simple conversation, or an invitation can become the key that unlocks something life-changing. She walks through these doors not because she is perfect, not because she is stronger than others, but because God's favor has chosen her path and is directing her steps with precision. It is important to recognize that the doors God opens are never for selfish gain. They are always aligned with His purpose, His plan, and His glory. When a woman favored by God steps through a door, she steps into destiny. Every opportunity carries responsibility, and favor comes with divine guidance to ensure that it produces fruit. She does not take the credit. She acknowledges that it is God who opens doors that no one can close, even when circumstances seem contrary, when human wisdom says it cannot work. She moves forward with confidence because she knows that the favor of God transcends limitations, defies obstacles, and surpasses human understanding. This favor also manifests in timing. Doors open not too early and not too late, but precisely when God intends. A job, a relationship, a ministry opportunity, or a spiritual breakthrough may appear suddenly, as if the universe itself is rearranging to accommodate the blessing. The woman favored by God recognizes these moments and steps boldly into them. She does not hesitate in fear, nor does she procrastinate in doubt. She walks forward in faith, believing that the favor of God has set these doors before her, and that what is impossible for man is always possible with God. Furthermore, the favor that opens doors also provides divine provision. Not only are opportunities made available, but the resources, wisdom, and guidance to succeed within them are given. She finds that she has the creativity, the insight, the courage, and the spiritual discernment to navigate these openings successfully. Even when challenges arise, she is empowered to overcome them because favor never abandons her once she steps into what God has prepared. There is a magnetic anointing that rests upon a woman favored by God, drawing people to her without effort. It is not worldly charm, not a clever personality, not social skills, but a divine presence that radiates from her very soul. When she speaks, people listen. When she prays, hearts are touched. When she moves, others are inspired. There is an invisible force surrounding her, a fragrance of heaven that draws people near, not to her for personal gain, but toward the God who works through her life. This magnetism is unmistakable and cannot be faked. People feel it. They sense a life that is lived in alignment with something far greater than themselves, a life that carries the favor and blessing of God. Even in ordinary conversations, her words carry weight. A simple encouragement can bring hope to a weary heart. A timely word can provide direction to someone lost in confusion. and a gentle act of kindness can restore faith to the hopeless. She may not even be aware of the impact she has, yet lives are changed in her presence. People are drawn because the favor of God always produces influence. When favor rests upon a woman, she becomes a beacon, a lighthouse standing in a stormy sea, offering guidance, comfort, and inspiration to those who come near. Her life testifies that God is at work, that He is real, and that His goodness is not limited by human weakness or circumstances. This drawing power is also evident in relationships. Friends, colleagues, strangers, even those who may initially oppose her, find themselves softened, touched, or moved by her presence. She does not manipulate. She does not demand attention. She does not force anyone to follow her way. The anointing simply flows from her surrendered life, from her willingness to let God's Spirit move unhindered. She carries a heart of humility, a spirit of service, and a life of integrity, and people are irresistibly drawn to the light that shines through her. Favor attracts favor, and influence follows the footsteps of one walking in divine blessing. Furthermore, this spiritual magnetism has eternal purpose. The people drawn to her are often led into encounters with God. Through her testimony, her prayers, her example, and her words, lives are turned, souls are awakened, and hope is restored. She becomes a channel of God's love and power, not for her own glory, but for the glory of the one who has called her. Those around her are inspired to reach higher, to trust deeper, to believe stronger. A woman favored by God carries this drawing power wherever she goes. It is evident in churches, homes, workplaces, and even in the marketplaces of life. It is quiet yet unmistakable, subtle yet powerful. Even when she is silent, her life speaks volumes. Her very presence brings encouragement, healing, and a sense of peace that can only come from God. People instinctively recognize that they are in the presence of someone through whom God is working, and they are drawn not to her, but to Him working through her favor. There is a divine protection that surrounds a woman favored by God, a shield that is unseen yet powerful, keeping her safe in ways that the world cannot understand. Life is full of dangers, temptations, and unexpected trials, yet when favor rests upon a woman, she experiences a supernatural covering that preserves her steps. She may walk through circumstances that would shake others to their core, face challenges that seem overwhelming, and yet she emerges unharmed, protected by a hand far greater than her own. This protection is not always visible, and it is not always dramatic, but it is real, constant, and unbreakable. Even in situations where danger seems imminent, there is an inexplicable peace that accompanies her. She does not have to fear the unknown, because she knows that her life is in the hands of God. He orders her steps, directs her path, and guards her from harm. There may be accidents avoided, plans thwarted that could have led to disaster, and enemies prevented from bringing harm, all because favor surrounds her like a fortress. It is not her strength, intelligence, or caution alone that keeps her safe. It is the favor of God acting as a shield around her life. This protection also extends to her relationships, her family, and her work. God's favor guards her heart from deception, shields her mind from confusion, and preserves her body from sickness and harm. It is a comprehensive covering that reaches into every area of her life. Even when she is unaware, the favor of God moves to prevent what could have been destructive, guiding her away from hidden dangers and into the paths He has prepared. It is a subtle yet powerful force, a divine hand that guides, redirects, and preserves without her having to struggle or fight. Moreover, this protection gives her confidence to move forward boldly. She is not paralyzed by fear or hesitation. She steps into challenges, ventures into unknown territories, and engages in opportunities that others may avoid, knowing that God's favor will guard her steps. Even in spiritual battles, when the enemy seeks to discourage, attack, or destroy, she is protected. The favor of God acts as both armor and defense, equipping her to stand firm, resist temptation, and remain faithful to her calling. This divine covering is also a testimony to those around her. People notice that she is not shaken by circumstances that shake others. They see her rise above trials, maintain peace in chaos, and continue walking faithfully through life's storms. Her protection becomes evidence of God's presence in her life, drawing others to marvel at the power of His favor. It is a living demonstration that God watches over those He favors, that He intervenes on behalf of the one He loves, and that no attack can overcome the life that rests under His hand. The favor that protects her is never passive. It is active, moving, and dynamic. It shields, guides, and preserves. It directs her steps and secures her life in ways unseen by human eyes. Even when circumstances seem uncertain, even when danger seems near, she walks forward boldly because she knows the favor of God surrounds her, the favor that protects, sustains, and keeps her in perfect peace. A woman favored by God walks in wisdom and discernment that goes beyond human understanding, a clarity that seems to shine in every decision she makes. Life is full of choices, some small and some monumental, and many people stumble because they rely only on their own understanding. But when God's favor rests upon a woman, He grants her insight, direction, and understanding that surpasses her years, her experience, and even her natural abilities. She knows which paths to take, which words to speak, and which opportunities to pursue, not by chance or human reasoning, but because she is tuned to hear the voice of God guiding her every step. This wisdom is practical and spiritual at the same time. It informs her actions, guides her decisions, and gives her the ability to navigate complex situations with confidence. People are often amazed at her clarity, wondering how she knows what to do when others are confused. She discerns the right from the wrong, the safe from the dangerous, and the necessary from the unnecessary. This is not pride or arrogance. It is a humble acknowledgement that God is the source of all understanding. She seeks His counsel in prayer, listens intently to His Spirit, and applies His principles faithfully. And through this, her life becomes a demonstration of divine wisdom at work. Even in the face of opposition or uncertainty, her discernment remains sharp. She can sense motives, detect deception, and recognize the heart of a matter with spiritual acuity. This allows her to protect herself and others, to make decisions that align with God's purpose, and to avoid pitfalls that would entangle someone relying solely on human judgment. Favor does not just open doors, it also equips her with the insight to walk through them rightly, to avoid missteps, and to maximize the blessings that God has prepared for her. Her wisdom also extends to relationships and ministry. She knows how to respond with grace, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to act and when to wait. She becomes a guide to others, a source of counsel, and a vessel through which God imparts understanding to those around her. People seek her advice because they recognize that her decisions are led by a higher wisdom, a discernment that cannot be bought, taught, or fabricated. It is the fruit of a life surrendered to God, a life attentive to His guidance, and a life marked by favor. Furthermore, the discernment she carries produces confidence, courage, and peace. She does not second-guess herself in matters where God has led her. She trusts in His timing, His direction, and His provision, and she moves forward with assurance. Even when others falter, doubt, or fail, she remains steady because her steps are directed by divine wisdom. She becomes a living testimony that God's favor equips her with everything she needs to navigate life successfully, to make choices that honor Him, and to walk boldly in the path He has set before her. Her life, guided by discernment, demonstrates that favor is not only about blessings and opportunities, it is about insight, understanding, and the ability to respond rightly in every situation. It is a favor that empowers her to fulfill her purpose, to influence others, and to reflect the wisdom of God in all she does